All right, what's going on, guys? It is Shane. So we got ourselves a basic run-of-the-mill, not even just classic for me, but classic for most. It's a 2-in-1. This isn't a recording of my face. Just with some gameplay. Excuse me. Is going to be a simple story time. So the video previous to this release, or actually, I think it's going to be either one or two. If it's the video before, it's because the other video, which I'm making today of the game recordings of the past 2 months, was uploaded before this. But regardless, one or two videos prior to this one on the channel, I talked about my experiences with Corseed now, and all the stuff I did in rehab with that. Now, this one particular story is actually going to be about the time that my one of the other guys, we gave the pills to one of the other guys in the rehab, and it went way south. Not for us, but for him. And usually it goes south for you because usually they snitch you out. But the only reason we even told him that we were doing these pills and gave it to him was because he was the coolest, fucking chillest dude. But I remember this. Because for about 2 weeks prior to the events that I'm about to describe, my roommate, because each room had two people sleeping in it, my roommate and the guy across the hall and his roommate would use my speaker, and they would usually come over once a day. They'd hear me using it. I would use it most of the day, but then usually we would set a time because I would usually go down and play the video games during the designated time, so I just give them the speaker to use while I wasn't using it, which is just how I am, just being smart about it. But this day in particular, me and my roommates who had been popping these pills for probably a couple months at this point, had grown very close to our mates across the hall. Specifically this one kid who asked for these pills. So at this point, we had, if you watch the video I just aforementioned, we would steal so many of these pills, and we were such model rehab, and we made sure we were at the top of the rehab's a nice list so they wouldn't search our room, because they only usually search your room if you were like sort of misbehaving, or if you were lazy, or if your room wasn't clean, they'd search it or clean it for you, and then they'd kind of go through it as well. So we kept our room spotless. We made sure we attended all our groups and were on our fucking utmost behavior. But in reality, we really weren't, because we were almost every single night we were tripping on cough medicine. However, on the night in particular, we had 2 boxes left. We usually they would let us go about every week. They would give us a monthly $200 allowance, and they would let us go to the store. Well, we weren't buying these; we were stealing them. But usually they'd take the whole entire rehab down to the store every week of the month. So we would take the opportunity to steal 3-4 boxes of these pills between the both of us, me and my roommate. And at this time, we had already eaten a couple boxes, and we had a couple left over. Now we decided to, because 2 boxes of 32 pills, we gave this kid 10, and we split 11 and 11, so we would trip harder than him. And we gave this kid 10 pills, and all 3 of us, while standing in our bedroom, all 3 of us downed these pills with a couple bottles of water. I'll never forget this, because now what I'm about to describe to you is going to sound insane, and it is. But the way you think, the thoughts you have, the realizations you have when you eat this medicine, it makes everything feel like that's going on feel like it's not real, and that's kind of what's going to help you to kind of understand, if you don't do this stuff, why the events unfolded the way they did. So me and my roommate are obviously tripping absolute ballsack. And we are sitting there in our beds pretending to sleep, because at this point we ate them at 9 and lights out is at 10. So at this point everyone's supposed to be sleeping anyways. And we're tripping sack. Now after everyone goes to bed, the staff, to make sure people aren't overdosing or even just doing anything bad, comes up and they just peek in the room real quick and then close the door. So when the staff came around the first time, he left the door cracked open. And that was the first check around 10:30. Now, what me and my roommate proceed to hear, and we start laughing at first, but it doesn't get funny further on, is we hear our buddy start dry heaving. Because I've had it happen to me. Everybody, it's just like the same with mushrooms or even just food. Everybody's stomach handles ingestion differently, no matter what it is. And this kid must have had like a very low tolerance to these pills, because I vomited before, but I had to eat a ton of them. He only ate 10 of them and was in his room gagging, dry heaving, and then he started going back and forth between the bathroom and the room. And now at this point, me and my roommate started whispering to each other. We thought that he was either gonna one, just start having anxiety without even getting in trouble and just rat us out, or two, when you hear the events that unfolded, what you're about to hear, we thought the whole time that this kid was going to fold, but he didn't. So this dude, now mind you, remember I let him borrow the speaker, and because we were all gonna be tripping that night, I told him he could just keep it, because I was gonna let him listen to music. And he can get in trouble for the noise and shit, and I wasn't going to fucking be playing music while I was tripping. I never did once, because I did not want to draw any attention to myself while I was tripping in a building that I couldn't leave. So, because I was ultimately just trying to trip it while still getting away with it and stuff, but I eventually failed further on as you know my story. I kept failing in rehabs, but I got away with a lot of things for a long periods of time in situations I should not have. However, finally, his roommate, so the guys across the hall, his roommate notices that he is not only sick, but he is fucked up on something. And unfortunately, his roommate rats him out. Doesn't rat him out because he didn't know what the events that unfolded. No one ultimately knew what really happened, but they knew he had taken something. And so at this point, the nurse comes up. Now, once I heard the clicking heels down the hallway, because our rooms were all the way at the end on the second floor, we had like the coolest rooms. But once I heard the clicking of the heels coming down the hall, I figured that all of us were gonna be fucked. But listen to this. So she goes in, she hears him vomiting, she hears him slurring his speech, and she assumes either he's drunk or fucked up. So what they do, because he refuses to go with them because they were going to send him out to the hospital. He refuses to go with them, right? So rumors start going around in the hall, because some of the residents started whispering and shit. We could hear them through the cracked door that the police were on the way. Now, when I heard that, I was like, oh, we are fucked, because I also get extremely paranoid and homicidal on cough medicine, and that's why I don't take it no more. And we honestly thought that we were going to jail that night, and that we were probably, I thought I was going to die that night. My heart was pounding out of my chest from pure unadulterated anxiety. However, the police do eventually show up, because this kid's tripping so hard he ain't moving. He ain't listening to nobody. He's starting to have like an ODD attack. And fucking oh boy. For 2 hours after the police show up, they keep asking him to go to the hospital. Now, I think they knew he was tripping on something intense, because they didn't intervene, they didn't handcuff him, they didn't drag him. Either that, or it could have just been the rehab's policy. But regardless, for 2 hours, this dude was, the police would talk to him, because his name was, I'll say his name because it don't matter. His name was Caleb. And they would keep saying, Caleb, do you need to go to the hospital? Caleb, answer us. Are you okay? And he was just sitting there, with the speaker up to his ear, because well, I don't even know if it was up to his ear. It probably was, because the cops would have just shut it off themselves. Yeah, the reason why I assumed the speaker was up to his ear, because we couldn't actually see what was going on. Me and my roommate were actually secretly watching through the doorway, and they thought we were sleeping. They didn't even know. I don't even know why, because the doors were, we could literally see the cops, like they were like within feet of us. And I can't believe they didn't put the whole rehab on lockdown, but they didn't. For 2 hours, he would keep raising the volume on his speaker and then lowering it just to hear what they were saying, and kept raising it and lowering it, raising it and lowering it. And he was not moving. He was not speaking at all. He must have been fucking tripping balls, dude. Because I will admit, at least for me, I can relate to that as well, because when I used to take these pills, if I had to talk, it was almost like I was like, imagine like when you're underwater and you're trying to struggle to breathe. That's what it's like to try to talk on triple C's. You basically like you have to you have to like give everything you have just to choke out a few words. And it's not because you're like in a downer state. It's just like the way the trip is designed, dude. It's like the dextromethorphan fucks you up. But finally, after this goes on, me and my roommate listened to the whole thing because we were waiting for him to snitch us out. After the whole thing unfolds, he finally, after a couple hours, stands up and just walks out, and we hear everyone leave, just out of nowhere. And the next morning, he comes back. They actually pardoned him. They knew he was fucked up on something. But I think the only reason they pardoned him was because they didn't know it was triple C, and I don't think they guessed it was triple C, because the thing is, you can test for triple C's, but it has to be a specific test, and you have to have a presumption that they're on it. And I don't think these rehab workers put it together, because they tested him like 3 times with the basic 16 drug panel, and obviously nothing showed up. So I think they let him go because maybe they thought he was just having a bad bout of the flu, and just, you know, but I assume they assumed he was on something. But they pardoned him. They let him come back, and they gave him a warning, basically, because I think they knew something was going on with him. And me and my roommate, and like I said in the previous video, I've never been caught. The only thing I got caught with was the spice, and I got caught with triple C's in my first rehab. But on my third and final rehab, I took tons of shrooms and tons of cough pills, and was never caught once. But I actually successfully graduated. But and I ultimately completed all my rehabs, because my fourth, technically I went to a fourth one. It was a 28-day, and they completed me, and I never went back since. I never will again, because I have money, and I make money too. I've been making good money lately, so yeah, I'm just saving for my retirement. No one can ever fuck with me again. But yeah, to end the story at 15 minutes. He comes back, and he literally smiling at us, and not like in a menacing way. He thought the whole thing was fucking hilarious. He looked at us and said, "I will never." He said this. He was like, "Bro, I will never do that again." And we were like, we said right to him, we said, you probably shouldn't. We couldn't believe that this kid didn't rat us out. We couldn't believe he was actually like a gangster, dude. This dude was a G, bro. Because he actually had my speaker to it, and then he comes back over after this like, here we are fucking 14, 15 hours later. He comes over to my room and hands my speaker, and he goes, "Dude, you're awesome." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." And he says, "Thanks for letting me use the speaker." And I look at him and I said, "Thanks for not snitching." Because most people do snitch, dude. It's pretty fucking bad, but yeah, dude, that's basically all I got. I'm actually going to end this at 15 minutes. Like, subscribe, turn on the bell. You know the drill. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Should look into this channel a lot. There's a lot of cool things on here. I'm probably going to do some Grand Theft Auto 4 gameplay. I'm just going to record a one-take video and edit it in. Yeah, dude, I really appreciate each one of you guys, all my subs, all my fans, all my followers. I appreciate you, and I want you to spread the word. I want to really do something big with this. So yeah, like I said, take it easy. Don't do none of this stuff I talk about on this channel, because you can really fuck yourself over. Peace.